Okay, welcome everybody back to Steve Talks Boxing X, STBX. And we're delighted to have our new sponsor on board, which is boxingsupport.com. Very delighted with that. This week, we're going to be talking about this Saturday's rematch, which is Cameron versus Taylor 2. Cracking fight. And joining me this week as my guest is Amit Champaneri. Welcome, Amit, to the show, and thanks for coming on. Thanks for joining me.
Cheers, Steve. Thanks for coming on. And it's a good attempt at Champaneri there, I have to say.
Was that good? Steve. Yeah, again, I didn't have much time to practice that, like Frank's last week. So that was last minute practice on that name, but not bad.
Not bad. No. Thanks for having me on, Steve. Delighted to be on your show.
No, brilliant to have you. First of all, I want to say, before we touch on the actual fight itself, I just want to ask a big question. Really, how far female boxing has come over like these past few years?
Yeah, Steve, I think that's top question, and it's come so far, right? Probably over the last 5 years, but the last 2 years it's exploded, hasn't it? And when you just look at the female code and how many big fights are being made, and just the nature of getting the fights done quickly is something that the men's game can aspire to, really. I was there, as some of the big names that are there now. I was really lucky to be at the O2 for that big night of female boxing, led by sort of Shields, Marshall, and sort of Baumgartner. Yeah. I remember that. I remember. I think we were tweeting each other at that point.
Yeah,
and
it was that was the first all-female card, wasn't it? So, which is
huge. Mm-hmm. And two huge fights, but those names, like Baumgartner, Mayer, and getting them over from the US, and obviously got to do a little bit here for someone like Jane Crouch back in the day, like the pioneer who kind of started it all.
Yeah.
And what it's got to now is incredible. And I think in terms of the big names, the stars coming through, the champions that Britain has had as well, the likes of Natasha Jonas, Terry Harper, flying the flag. But then you've got the next generation coming through. Ellie Scotney's amazing, and obviously he's a world champion. But you've got the likes of Sky Nicholson, you've got Rena Dixon, you've got some top fighters kind of on the cusp of that world level. The depth is increasing, and I think that's the bit that for me when the women's game gets that more depth, you're gonna get in more competitive fights. And like Karen Dubois coming through, I'm like, these are like exciting fighters, and topping bills, right? That's been the big difference.
Yeah, I was gonna say, from 5 years ago, I guess we would never dream of two females headlining the show ever. If you ask any boxing fan, they'll probably laugh at you and say, "Don't be silly." But it shows you how far it's come, isn't it? Really. So, and like I said, you're talking the likes of Tasha Jonas is a brilliant example from the Olympics.
Look at that big fight. Mayer already in the new year, right? That's another sort of blockbuster fight, easily top any card, right? And I think that's kind of the level it's got to. And it's really interesting. I think COVID really changed that dynamic, because at that point they just wanted fights going on. I think a lot of the female fighters have said that gave them the opportunity to get onto these cards, and like those shows that Eddie ended, in his sort of back garden and all that sort of stuff, back in those weird days now, but really came about.
Yeah, do you think we're getting a bigger pool now? Because obviously stars like Taylor, Jonas, Mayer, they're attracting more females to boxing. So are we getting a bigger pool of fighters now?
I think so. I think the depth's really improving, and I think they're inspiring a new generation. Obviously, there's many more. There's many more, girls and women taking up boxing, which is amazing in itself. And then, that's only going to increase. And it's about role models, isn't it, Steve? I think, you look at what's out there with the likes of the headliners, and obviously we're going to come on to the biggest pioneer of them all in Katie Taylor. But when you've got that sort of inspiration there of what they've gone and achieved, and they're earning the money now, and obviously, and they're getting they're getting higher on those cards. You'd hope it's only going to increase the depth, and then obviously that's going to mean that it's only going to keep them progressing, which is what we want to see, because they're great fights. They're normally very action-packed fights, and that's because of the nature of the 2-minute rounds, which is a factor, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say a lot of, like I said, role models up there. Maybe not Vanguard no at the moment, so we have to wait on that one. So
I know. There's a statement on that recently, wasn't there?
yeah,
Of course. Yeah.
bit of a sore subject on that one, but I'm sure she really is innocent. But yeah, so yeah, but yeah, like I said, it's definitely exciting times for female boxing. I think it's really, like you said, it's on the turn. Big names, big fighters coming through, big fights coming through. What's your opinion on? I know we saw it a few weeks ago, the Serrano fight on
Mm.
three, 12 3-minute rounders. What's your feeling going forward for women? Is that going to be a good thing?
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? You hear, I've listened to a lot of podcasts like you, Steve, probably, and there's been debate on like Bunty's podcast and Boxing News and others, and I think what makes female boxing actually exciting in a moment is that you've got this concentrated 2 minutes, and I think that's what builds a new dynamic to a fight.
Yeah.
I think a natural progression feels like it would go to like 12 twos rather than 10.
10
So you're
threes
getting that
or
two
12 threes.
additional,
Yeah.
then rather than going to 12 threes. I think 12 threes. I didn't watch the whole of that Serrano fight. I did catch the highlights, but from what you read, it felt like those last few rounds were a bit more laboured.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you watch it, Steve? Did you watch the
I
whole
did watch
fight?
it. I thought it was decent. Yeah, you could tell they were tired, but both of them were still firing back after 3 rounds. So I think, yeah, they can do it. It was action packed. It was a good fight. So, would you like to see the Cameron Taylor fight maybe over the distance, or keep it 2 minutes? Do you think change much?
Yeah, to make it like a full pelt rematch, you'd think 10 twos and stick to the code. I think a natural progression would go 12 twos and just increase the rounds. I think that'd be a really natural step. And actually, I think it's a great step because then you've got that parity with the men. But the other thing as well is the thing that people forget about is that you've got to then think about the money because, and I've got to put a bit one to Bunty here. It's like, ultimately you are asking them to train harder, longer camps. They're going to be in a longer fight.
Yeah.
So the money aspect has to come into it of a longer fight. I think 12 twos does genuinely make a lot of sense to be the next step. And of course, I think over time, absolutely 12 threes. Let's face it.
Yeah. And I suppose
it's so competitive, the fights.
Yeah, I was going to say, I suppose we could only make it for perhaps the bigger fights, the World Championship fights. I'm not sure. So it's still fairly new, isn't it, really?
It is.
To trial it, I think maybe it could be something they could look at the big fights. That's what I would like to see anyway. Eventually, within time, like slowly introduce it into some fights and see how
it would be a Taylor Cameron level sort of fight, right? Ultimately, that you would 100%. Think would reach that stage, wouldn't it? Or like world championship fights, or just genuine like competitive bigger fights. That I think it will become the norm at some point. When it could take years, but I think ultimately that's where it's going to get to.
Yeah, sure. Back to the Cameron Taylor fight. It was majority decision in the first fight. Did you feel that was the right result?
Yeah, I watched it. I've got DAZN, so I watched the first one, and I agreed. I did two to Cameron. I'll be honest,
really?
Steve, and then I actually rewatched it. I had this. We watched it last night. And it's a great fight, so I've obviously watched it again. And similarly, I think it was fair. I think Katie just really didn't get into it in those first sort of 5 rounds. I think it was really tough. And then when she did start to come back, she came back well, but she left herself a lot to do. So I don't think there's any argument. I don't think there's any argument from her either, honestly. I don't, it's disappointing, but I don't think there's a big sort of like outcry, and even from the fans that were there. It wasn't wider than that though. It was so competitive. I think there was a few sort of voices saying it wasn't.
Yeah, some fans had it like wide to Cameron. So, but I was watching it that night, and I had it close. So, I think I even had it maybe even borderline draw, and which
one of the results, one of the scores, right?
Judges, scorecards. So,
right.
Yeah. So. Yeah,
no, it was that close. It was nip and tuck, and it depends on what you wanted to see. I think as well, because Kay was part trading, but she was also trying to box and move. So it did come a bit to like what you wanted to see and what you thought were the scoring punches. But Cameron was just consistently solid all the fight. So it was hard to argue for. But that's the thing. You've got to score these. You've got to. It's 10 rounds. You've got to score each round. So people often forget that.
Yeah, I feel sorry for the judges sometimes. Yeah, like you said, 2-minute rounds, 10 rounds. It's hard to score. What do you think Katie can do this time to change the outcome of the fight?
Box and move. Yeah. I mean, look, Cameron's bigger. Really. Back to basics, but almost like get back to that. I know she's adapted the game to a degree from the Olympics and the amateur boxing, but you can still see that what's made her so successful, Steve. She's fast, she's quick, can get in, she's got incredible skills. I think Cameron's naturally bigger, she's naturally stronger, she's got more power. I think Katie standing there and training like she did with Serrano is going to be a real tough night, honestly. Yeah. But if she can box and move, use the ring, use her incredible footwork, she's just got to get Cameron uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest learning.
You think the early rounds are going to be important, do you think, for Katie setting that, do you think?
She's got to set the stall out because Cameron's going to come in super confident, right? I mean, she's going to think, I don't need to change much here. I can walk her down. She's got to get her respect pretty quickly. And I think she's got to show us something different to make Cameron think differently. And I think, do I need to start adapting my game plan? And obviously, Jamie was going to have her obviously very motivated to go in there and repeat what she did previously. But I think the first 3 rounds are going to be really critical for Kate. She's got to show something different to get that foothold and then hopefully build on it.
Yeah, definitely. I know Katie's obviously the home fighter. She was before. Is that going to make much difference, do you think?
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I remember watching the opening, it really caught my eye, that whole sort of the emotion she had, even like with the song going on and that big build up. And she got, it was a big thing going home, obviously, for Katie Taylor, and she's an idol there. It works one of 2 ways, doesn't it, Steve? It's either you embrace it and you go in there and you've got this crowd behind you, or there's pressure. And I think wherever she was going to be, she's on. This is about legacy now. She's going in there to win, to actually prove that, look, I can come back from a loss. And I think the home crowd should, in theory, help her. I think she would much prefer to be in Ireland than in Cameron's backyard, to be fair.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Taylor, obviously, win or lose, she's 37 now. Do you see her retiring after this fight?
No, either way, honestly. I think if she beats Cameron, she's got 4 belts at her own weight, so she can just go back down, right? Ultimately, she's gone up to fight Cameron. And then, obviously, the Serrano fight's still there. I think while that Serrano fight's there, I think that's one that Katie would want to do, and who's going to not want to watch that rematch? That'd be obviously incredible.
Yeah, great. So what, potentially one more fight, maybe?
Katie's just boxing's just her, right? I wouldn't be surprised if she. I think if she loses to Cameron, I could see her trying to go on the win in another big fight. If she's beating Cameron, then I don't know, she might have 2 or 3. Bottom line, she's got no end of opponents lined up, Steve. You've got Mayer, you've got Natasha Jones, the rematch, you've got all these fighters that want to fight Katie Taylor. So she's always going to be opportunity.
Fight is potentially a super fight again, isn't it? When you mention their names, every one of them fights, they're all, I like to see that. Yeah, that's a good opponent. Yeah, so they're all big names, big fights, aren't they?
And let's face it, you'd want to see a fight, but I think Katie will want to go out on a win. So that's the bit she's going to have to find the balance with, because you can fight all these, but they'd all be super competitive fights. So I guess the balance she's going to find, win or lose against Cameron, is I want to bow out with a win. I imagine that's her mentality. She wouldn't want to go out on a loss, she's got to pick her right time.
And it's hard mentality-wise as well, as a boxer, to go out on a loss. I always feel that, because you always get these comeback fights, just to that finish your career with just that win. I know sometimes it doesn't work out, sometimes that way, but I think from a fighter's point of view, I think to retire on a win is always a good thing, isn't it?
Always a dream. Always a dream. But I think it's particularly for Kate, just because she is an absolute, pioneer legend of the game. So
well,
like,
she's had a brilliant career, like bigger, inspiration to female boxing influence. There, win or lose, come Saturday, she's been amazing for the sport, regardless, isn't she? Really, so I would say.
100%. I mean, win or lose, she's going to be there. Exactly.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say, crunch time. Your prediction for the fight? I'll put you on the spot now.
Toughie. It's a toughie, Steve. You've got to edge towards Cameron doing what she did last time and winning on points. And there's not going to be a stoppage in my view. It's funny. I saw your, asking predictions on your tweet, and there's quite a few that are saying knock off Cameron. I don't see that. I don't see Katie Taylor getting knocked out. Personally, I'd love Katie to kind of turn it around, turn them at the clock, and just get a point to win. I think it'll be a point decision either way, but you kind of got to side with Cameron. She just seems to have too much for Katie Taylor at just the size and the power and the strength. I think it'll probably be a similar outcome.
Similar, yeah. A lot of people, like you mentioned in my tweet, were saying not only Cameron's going to get the win, she's going to get the stoppage this time, because Taylor's been on the decrease, showing signs of slowing down. So it's interesting people are saying that. So thinking that Cameron is actually going to get the stoppage. But we know Katie's tough. We know that.
Tough as nails. I mean, look, if she feels she's going to be on the verge of stoppage, she can box and move and get out of the way, right? So I don't see that happening whatsoever. But I would not be surprised if Katie pulls out an incredible performance and just bamboozles Cameron there as well. So, but you've got, just based on the first performance and like you say, all the other factors, you've got to kind of go with Cameron points winning him.
Yeah, no, fair enough. My closing questions, I always have a couple of quick closing questions I ask my guests. We're going back to the heavyweights as normal. Obviously, a exciting couple of weeks just announced with fights, with all the fights going on in Saudi. Obviously, we got AJ versus Wallen lined up for December. But what about that AJ versus Wilder? I know they're fighting both on the same card. Wilder fighting Parker. Are we going to see that fight after this?
I think that's the plan. I mean, let's face it, it's almost like a semi-final, isn't it? Riyadh season's out. They want to close Riyadh season with a big fight. Obviously, the other big fight is going to be in Feb, so they've still got time into March, from what I understand. So, and you could turn that around. It's one of the most exciting fights possible, Steve. Even it was when they were both unbeaten and obviously champions. It is now when they're not unbeaten and not champions anymore. Like these two explosive fighters, it's always that who's going to land first or win out of AJ and Wilder. And back then, I was always a bit more edging towards AJ, just basically being able to outbox Wilder. But now you're like, okay, but Wilder went through. We went up and down a lot against Fury and showed incredible heart. So you're like, actually, can he just stick around and land and do something? I think it will happen. I think because of the dynamic change with what's going on in Saudi at the moment, it's changed the ball game really in terms of boxing for me. These big fights can happen, will happen.
Yeah,
I'd love to see it. I have to say. But out of the two, I think AJ's got a tougher assignment, I have to say, than Wilder.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, Saudi's a new Vegas, apparently. So there you go.
There we go. I mean,
from a selfish point of view, from a fight fan, at least we're going to see the fights live at a reasonable time as well. So we're not going to have
pretty much our peak time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, can't complain with that. No more 4 a.m. sort of wake-ups to get that fight.
Exactly. Yeah, don't have to wake up 4 o'clock in the morning, set your alarm, for that. So yeah, we can't complain. Also, obviously, they announced Fury versus Usyk. I know it's February; it's a long time away. How hopeful are you going to see that cross the line?
I mean, a lot's gone into it, right? But 3 months is a long time, particularly when it comes to these two fighters. I mean, it just didn't feel like it was going to happen, and then suddenly it turned the corner, didn't it, massively, because, again, of this sort of Saudi influence. I would like to think it is going to happen now, Steve. I think a lot's gone into this. That Ngannou fight was a real... I mean, I think Fury's going to look back on that one day and think, what was I thinking? Obviously, he got paid a fortune, fine, but... Yeah, I mean that's him with his eye off the ball, right? I mean, ultimately, I know what his prep was like or whatever, and obviously Ngannou was a lot better than anyone thought. I think everyone was a bit open jawed on that fight. This one, Fury, I don't believe this whole thing was scared of Usyk. I don't think Fury's scared of anyone, so
Yeah,
he'll definitely fight Usyk. There's no issue about that. But then you got
yeah,
people like Joe Grove saying, actually, he's just going to retire. Like, he's not going to fight him. He knows it's over. I won't go that far. I think it will happen, but until that old sort of saying until that
they're
first
in the
bell
ring.
rings,
Yeah,
who knows?
yeah,
That's the feeling.
yeah. I'm kind of like that until they're actually fight week. They're actually even up to fight week, to be honest. Fights get cancelled last minute as well. But until they're actually in the ring, I'm not going to get mega excited just yet anyway. So, but hopefully,
Yeah, yeah.
fingers crossed on that one.
Fingers
So,
crossed. It's the
fingers
fight we
crossed.
all want to see, and
Yeah, of course it
undisputed.
is.
Like,
Yeah,
forget the belts. This is about
yeah.
who's the best
Just
heavyweight.
fighting the
Those
best.
two guys are beating Adrian, they're beating Wilder. They are the top two. It's going to be a real chess match, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
And we're all here for it. It'll be amazing. And
yeah.
I'll put it out there. I'm still backing Fury on points.
Really. Oh, there you go. Early prediction in already. So
I'm getting in there. I've said
early
it from the
prediction.
beginning. I
Yeah.
think it'll be on the it'll be back in the zone for this one if it happens, when it happens, hopefully.
No, that's fair enough. That pretty much wraps it up for this show. Thanks again, Amit, for coming on. Appreciate your time on this and your feedback on the fight. Obviously, please support the channel, support the show with likes and subscriptions. Also, check out the guys at boxingsupport.com as well, our new sponsor. Details of them are below the video below. So, and also get your beers and snacks in for Saturday, whether it may be a cheeky Guinness this week, maybe. I don't know. So, go with the Irish theme, maybe. So, but yeah, thanks, Amit, again, for your time.
Cheers, Steve.
Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, thank you.
Great stuff. Cheers, Steve. Thanks a lot.
Cheers.
Steve Talk.